Let's go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to BingetownTV's coverage of Amazon's The Wheel of Time. So this here is our deep dive episode for episode 7, The Dark Along the Ways. So if you listen to the instant reaction, we got a little excited and we dove into some theory talk and some deeper discussion. So we're probably going to repeat some things. But if you listen to both episodes, you'll be the expert of your friend group. So that's fun, at least. We're basically going to follow the path of the episode. So we're going to kind of talk about all the scenes in the order that they happened, as we kind of struggled to come up with more general buckets to dictate the conversation. So as the episode does, we're going to open with the blood snow and our Aiel woman fighting all of those people while pregnant and kicking fucking ass while doing so.
That was super badass. And like you guys said on the instant reaction, like one of the coolest just cold openings of any episode of TV. It was just so well choreographed, and she looked like such a badass.
That's like one of the best fight scenes I've seen in recent memory. I'd put that on there with The Witcher, the end of episode 1, season 1. Like, it's just so perfect, so clean, believable. It fits with the Aiel reputation, and it was just perfect. I think Mama Rand is just a powerhouse.
Agreed. I think she this is the first time I've ever seen like a 9-month pregnant woman do as much damage as I've seen in this episode. So it was amazing. Talked about a lot in the instant reaction, so I don't really have much else to say, just besides the fact that it's just something that I've never seen done before, and I just kudos to the Wheel of Time execs for making it such a great scene.
That woman was actually just a stunt actress or actor, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I'm fairly positive that like she wasn't getting the job to act, but she was so good that they gave her that like whole extended fight of, because she was acting. She wasn't just doing stunts. Yeah, she was fucking incredible.
Yeah, the contractions that she was having, that's literally what caused her to get caught and eventually stabbed and die.
Bullshit.
It was so amazingly played into the scene. Like, she was getting the couple seconds of relief where she could do badass shit, then she just literally was paralyzed by it. It was perfect. I
really liked her weapons too. I don't think I've ever seen like 2 half spear like as a weapon of choice. Like you usually see like just a giant long spear or like a regular sword, but she was wielding something I've never seen before, which was like those 2 mini spears. So that was cool.
Those are the like basically the Aiel weapons of choice. They use short spears like that.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. That was really cool.
And her grabbing the cape, that was just an iconic shot since the trailer came out of season 1, like forever ago. Like, that's been talked about. It looks so cool.
Yeah, people have been chomping at the bit to see this scene.
Yeah.
It's definitely expanded from the books themselves. This event is just kind of talked about in that a baby was born on the slopes of Dragon Mount, and we know that this battle was happening at the same time that the baby was born, but we've never had like this level of description about it. So the creative liberties, I guess you could say, they took were fucking fire. Mm-hmm. It is the Aiel, who is obviously the faction that she's a part of. They're fighting people from Ilion, which is a kingdom that we don't know about. We'll find more about, but it is nice that they threw that in there. They are represented. Their standard is the 9 bees, and on all their breastplates, there's 9 bumblebees. So that's just that's another culture that we will find out more about.
So Tam's from Ilion?
Tam is not. He just, when the war started, they'll just take recruits, soldiers from pretty much anywhere. Mm-hmm. So he just joined up with the Ilion army, and then he kind of works his way up.
Gotcha.
He's a beast. And he gets that nice sword. And the last little tidbit, I guess, we can talk about for this scene is that, so they give her a name in the X-ray, but her like warrior name is Shael or Shael, which means one who is dedicated.
It's fucking badass.
And I think she showed that dedication in this scene.
Pretty much embodied.
Yeah. Is her name important at all?
So her name is Tigraine Mantir. It's not something that's important now, but obviously she's the mother of the Dragon Reborn. So we will end up learning more about her a lot later.
Okay.
Dedicated to dying.
Whoa. Dedicated to pushing that prophesized baby to save the world out.
Yeah, that was pretty nuts. That was phenomenal.
She's great. I like her a lot. Yeah. All right. So moving into the next scene. So after the opening credits, we actually get, it pretty much starts exactly where episode 6 ends. So we pick up with everyone screaming about Matt. The Ways closes, and our group, the Evansfield 5 or 4 now, are trying to get them to open it back up. Loyal tells us that we can't channel the one power in the Ways because of something called Machin Shin.
Great.
That's it.
Yeah, no. It's just so hard. Like I've already talked about a lot of this on the instant reaction, but the concept of the Black Wind was really cool. I wasn't sure. Like Machin Shin sounded like it'd be a person, and then they said Black Wind, so I wasn't sure if that'd be a nickname, and it ended up just being like it looked like a bunch of like bugs kind of like swarming around and talking to the people. That's kind of how I took it, but really cool concept. Definitely something that should not be fucked with, because obviously even Moraine in that moment was just well when they get to that moment of being attacked by, even she herself is struggling. So
for all you Gears of War players out there, it looked like the Krill, the Black Wind. Totally, it was just like the Krill, like this black force just coming at you. And I wonder what all yours would be, what the Black Wind would tell you guys. Would it be like, Dave, that I can't.
Yeah. I couldn't tell if you were coming with like a real personal insult or you were struggling to say something.
What, your penis size will never be enough.
2 inches going at 100 miles per hour will not fuck
mine
shit up.
is you'll never be able to use the full length of your penis. It's too big.
You guys are fairly insecure about these your penises.
Well, if we're going to Kyle, it's him and his erectile dysfunction.
Okay. Yeah, our only insecurities are our penises. Honestly, that wouldn't be bad. But unfortunately, reality is it's a lot more than that.
The ways is really cool. And you guys said in the books it was like straight up a door, right? You just open it and you're in.
Yes.
So it's weird. Maybe they couldn't do that because like they needed to trap Matt. Like if it was just a door, then Matt being separated from them wouldn't be really an issue, because you could just open the door again and go through. So it's a weird way, because like now
it's possible. I just don't like it, because that just begs the question: was the plan? I know we talked about this while the episode was going on, but was the plan to, once we get to the way gate that we want to exit from, use the power real quick before the Black Wind came? Because if that's the plan, like I really think that's just a dumb creative decision, because you should be able to go through without having to channel. I just think that's unnecessary.
I think the point is that no one uses the ways partly because of that. Like if the only way you get out is to attract the Black Wind, that's why no one ever uses them. Like a lot of them are tied to the Ogier steadings, where the Ogier kind of control access to them, and they don't let people go in them. So I think it's a little bit of, I agree. Obviously they change it from the books. The way it is in the books is like a little, I don't know if it would pop off the screen as much as the way they did it in the show, but also, yeah, there's an inherent danger to simply using the ways. I think that came across in the way it does a little bit in the books, but I don't know. I mean, I was fine with the way it all worked. I think it looked great. I think them like traveling through it and all like what are they? The basalt columns, but you guys talked about it. What are they? The stalagmites?
Yeah, stalagmites. Yeah, no. Yeah, mites.
They're the mites because they came from below, right? Yeah, because
mites.
the tights hang tight to the ceiling.
Yeah, that's all you need to know, baby.
I paid attention, bro. I paid attention. So we're moving through the ways, and Perrin is the person that actually, he's in the back of the group, and he notices something in front of everyone. So that's a nice little nod that his wolf senses are changing a little bit. So his eyesight is getting a little bit better in the dark. And we find out that the guiding stone has been defaced, and it's going to take us some time to decipher it. So when we have this break, essentially, because Loyal's like, hey, I need a little patience. So we know, and Rand knows, that Loyal's version of patience is more than our version of patience. So they basically camp out for the night.
Fuck Padan Fane for. I'm assuming he had to be the one to destroy the Guidestone, which would to me make sense, because if he is a dark friend, and if that Guidestone literally is telling them how to get to the Dark One's like castle or prison, then of course you got to destroy it, because you don't want people just casually being able to do that.
It could be Padan Fane, but I think it's so now that it's implied that the Trollocs got to the two rivers through the ways, like episode 1, like you could start jumping to conclusions that it was probably Padan Fane was related to it, but maybe like that time through the ways is when they were destroying it. So yeah, it could have been just the Trolloc armies in general, or him. Maybe it's kind of hard to tell, but there's some cool things subtle things that we get throughout this part of the ways. And one thing I didn't catch the first time at all was Land and Moraine's conversation about Matt. Like, what if Matt is the Dragon Reborn? And then like I didn't really put it together, I guess, because I was just like so absorbed in the ways that Moraine was saying, like, she cannot let, if Matt is the true Dragon Reborn, she can't let him go to the Dark One because he's just going to completely join him if he is. So I love that about that whole scene. It justifies her sending the Red Ajas through Min after him in case that they do die and none of them were the dragon, because this motherfucker's so corrupted that he's gonna, if he sees the Dark One, he's going to be bad. Yeah. So I liked all like that little line that Moraine and Lan has between Lan, like that was good justification on the second round through.
Mm-hmm. I also like how Loyal here mentions how the ways used to have soft verdant grass, but now one wrong step sends you into a void. I'm just curious as a non-book reader to understand like what happened within the ways that made them become like this. Like if it was the Dark One, if it's someone else who just wanted to like make people not use the ways because they are so strong, like, or not strong, but like so important. And so it'll be interesting to see what happened there in that time.
Great question. Yeah. So let's move on.
Can I ask really quickly? Like, they didn't tell us like how long ago it happened, right? Like it seemed like it happened before Loyal's time, the way he was wording it.
I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're probably going to give us more information on it.
Yeah, I'm going to just leave it up to the show to talk more about it. Okay. They're going to play more of a role. So I think we'll let the show talk about it. And then you just kind of keep that in the back of your mind, and then the ways will show back up. Maybe something will happen, and you'll be that Leonardo DiCaprio meme from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yeah, exactly. But I think I want that for you.
It is cool, the idea that it was at one point like vegetation or something, and it like was like a forest.
I wonder if the Black Wind was always there, or if now because of how it got destroyed and whatever, that it just maybe the Black Wind was the reason it got destroyed. But just me theory, like just throwing out ideas.
So Luke mentioned that there were Trollocs moving through the ways. We actually get a singular Trolloc that attacks the camp, and Rand protects Egwene from this. He kind of shields her a little bit, but Egwene,
it's so hard to tell in the moment.
Exactly. Like the first time you watch it, I would just assume that Egwene is the person that channels,
because she's the only one that has of the Aemon's field. Well, okay, besides Nynaeve, but the only like of the women. Yeah, she
even apologizes to everyone and is like, I didn't mean to channel, it just kind of happened on instinct. So now we're kind of off to the races. We know that the Black Wind, Machin Shin, is attracted to channeling by the One Power. So now we're rushing. So we're not now going to the Eye of the World directly. We need to go to now Fal Dara, which is the closest waygate. So I think they kept the tension up really good in the ways. I didn't think that they were there that long, but I think it worked well because we just kind of immediately get to this point where, okay, the Black Wind's chasing us and we got to get the fuck out of here. I was actually a little shocked that they get attacked by the Black Wind.
Like it makes physical contact with them and stuff. Yeah. Because it's a little different, like how it works and what it can do in the book. So I was too, but can we talk about, just to say what everybody heard. I actually kind of missed what Moraine heard. Hers was about like not being able to protect the kids.
You're gonna kill these people and then call it like justice or glory or
in like the name of the okay. Rand was that Egwene will never love him and she's gonna leave him again. Perrin's was more about killing his wife and
getting her out of the way
because he loves someone else.
Yeah. And then Nynaeve was she's just going to hear the screams of all of her friends dying, basically.
And Land is, you can't protect her, you'll watch her die.
Right.
And I guess it's a little ambiguous of whether it's Moraine or Nynaeve at this point.
Still pissed we didn't get Loyal's perspective. I wanted to see what they were telling
You'll
him.
never be fast enough.
You'll never be fast enough. You slow the group down.
That's actually really funny. They might so it'll never become a thing, but we'll get a little more characterization of Loyal later, but just very vaguely, Loyal is terrified of being married.
You're gonna find true love one day. This is your horrible speech. You're gonna find true love. How terrible is that?
Loyal's afraid of two things. It's basically his mom and marriage.
That doesn't surprise me that he would have mother issues and that would transcend to him not wanting to be married. So that doesn't surprise me.
That's because people asked about this online, and two of the answers were basically like, you're about books, like you'll never write a book.
That's
or
what
like,
I would have literally
like all the books in the world would be burned or things like that. Or like your mom's gonna make you get married.
That's awesome. That's so hilarious.
I guess because it's Loyal and he's such a jolly guy and his fears are kind of funny compared to everyone else's, it probably would have ruined the mood.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, 100%.
His was like, you're gonna get married.
So his mom just screaming at him.
Yeah, I think that's why they kind of cut. They didn't let him have his moment like that.
But Black Wind ended up causing Nynaeve to hear her Vision last, and she just freaks out and has like an explosion of power, like she did at the end of episode 4, and that allows Moraine, who's going ham on channeling right now, like bending backwards and shit. She looked crazy while she was like hustling, and she opens the gate, and they all run through, close, and then we're looking at the city of Faldara.
Which again, said in the instant reaction, just looked really nice. Just seeing all the different, like, we've only 7 episodes in, but we've already seen so like a lot of this world. It feels like between like Shadar Logoth and the Two Rivers and all the space in between where they are now. It's really cool just seeing the different styles of how they wanted to represent each. Field.
It's like the borderlands are just a desert basically.
And
it's the edge. And I want to show you guys a map so you guys have enough knowledge now through 7 episodes to understand a map, but yeah, it's just like the whole outer edge of the continent that's relevant is just like desert.
And I also like the idea that the Blight is the reason that it's a desert. So again, I'm wondering if if it used to, again, like the ways just have grass, and if it was actually like a a very more beautiful nation than it already is. So
let's have a conversation quickly about the Blight while you brought it up, because I have a question. And it might not be answerable because of how different the take of the Blight is in the show versus the book. But like, is that shit? Do we think it's like it moves as the Trollocs take areas?
We discussed
like
this on the instant, so you weren't able to hear it.
Yeah.
But what I asked Kyle was like, can you like, burn the Blight? Can you like fight against it? He said not really. It's like as the Dark One increases his power, it kind of just expands.
Yeah.
And it's not like you can't just really fight it. It's more about what's inside the Blight. It seems like is what Kyle was saying, that like Trollocs live in there, Fades live in there.
I think the mechanics work the same in like the way that it advances is kind of direct proportional to the Dark One's influence on the world.
Mhm.
It's somewhat of a physical manifestation of how much influence he has.
Yeah.
It's just that it's now in the version of this kind of dead plant forest versus just like barren wastelands of no plant life and poisonous.
Because
like,
that is what I
bodies.
envisioned is just like basically death, like in the books, like desert just
Yeah,
growing
like
where no life can grow and it just keeps getting bigger.
Like if
I do
Zareth,
like this a lot.
like if Zareth from Fairy Tale were to like just walk by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It literally
Exactly.
that's basically what it's like in the books. I just think it visually looks so much better
I like
Way
it. I
better.
like this too,
in the show.
because it physically shows that like there's an issue going on with the Blight. Like if it was just like a wasteland, like that could just be anywhere in the world, somewhere that's
Yeah.
hot. It could just be a wasteland, where the Blight just shows that, okay, there's actually something unnatural occurring here, and
Yeah.
it's because of these plants.
Dude, I'm so happy with how it looks.
Yeah, and there's other areas that are like kind of desert areas that I don't think it would hit as hard if it's like we're at another desert, like the
Yeah,
Blight is another
exactly.
desert, you
Yeah.
know. So it's kind of like I really like the take. I think it worked out
let's
well.
jump back to
Lan,
Aldara.
yeah, Lan reuniting with his homies was really cool. I love seeing Lan being happy in general just brings a smile to my face, because he's always so serious, and we get a couple moments with him and his warder buddies and everything, but like the moments,
Daishin,
whenever Daishin is smiling, I'm happy.
So we had this little bit of a mix up on the instant reaction.
Mhm.
It's Daishan with an
Daishan.
A, because Machin Shin, because B-Tom's actually asked of the Shin Shan, he thought it was both
Shin
of them
Shin.
ended in Shin. So he was like, why is it the same surname or like same second word?
Yeah.
But it's actually different. So
funny because I wrote my notes say Daishan like correct, but I said Daishin because I thought it was Daishin.
I still
Yeah.
remember, like, even
We're
we
good.
just watched the episode, I still in my head think it's Daishin.
So Moraine actually, when they first get out, mentions that we have friends in these borderlands, and then we see that live as Lan goes towards the throne room, is greeted by those soldiers,
Mhm.
and he kind of hugs a couple of them. They call him Daishan, like we just said. The guy with the eye patch, like I mentioned on the instant reaction, his name is Uno, an absolute legend, fan favorite character.
Really?
Yeah, the guy with one eye is named Uno.
Yeah, it's just
Oh, that's so
ironic.
funny.
Yeah.
Ironic. I see what you did there.
Oh,
I see what you
wow.
did there. Was that on
Hey, Paul.
purpose?
No.
I wish.
Well, I made it on purpose for you, so there you go.
I would have believed you. So the squad moves into the throne room, and we are greeted by Lord Agilmar. So Lord Agilmar is the Lord of Fal Dara, and they have an interesting kind of confrontation here.
Hmm.
He's a little bit hostile at first. Then Moraine kind of drops the knowledge bomb about the ways on him, and he
Hmm.
settles down a little bit. So this is an interesting depiction of people from the Borderlands. In the books, they're really pro Aes Sedai. At least Lord Agilmar and Fal Dara are,
Hmm.
because they get it. They understand, like they
Their
know
importance.
they know the Dark One's an actual thing
Hmm.
that they kind of fight with Trollocs and Fades and shit.
I mean, they're right next
Yeah,
to all of it, so they know
are
firsthand.
the frontline defense of the world basically
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, and while people in the South think that those kind of things are myths and not real, so they think the Aes Sedai are dark friends because they can use magic, while the Borderlanders actually know what's going on.
And that's a perfect segue into something I absolutely love about Fal Dara. They probably won't say it in the show, but one of the cool things about Fal Dara's policies, like for the city, is you're never allowed to have your hood up. So you can't be like a Trolloc in disguise or a Fade, because you have to walk around with your hood down because they're so close and so easily infiltratable. That's just like a cool rule. Like
You know, that reminds me of Alice in Borderlands at the beach. Gotta
you
wear
gotta wear a bathing
suit.
suit.
Oh, what is the rule? Rule son. Mono Nishi. No,
I thought you were getting
I have it like the first half. I just don't remember how it ends. But shout out to Alice in Borderland
exactly
podcast.
like that, honestly. Just no threats.
The line that Loyal had to Lan walking in saying, like, you know, how many years has it been since you like walked through these gates last? And he doesn't really answer, but I kind of want to know, because
is he hundreds of years older? Is he?
Not hundreds, but like, when was the last time they've seen Lan? Does he look any different? Like, was it like 10 years ago?
And I feel like they say too, they make a comment like, you look the same.
I would guess that it's been at least 20 years, because doesn't Moraine say me and you've been what?
Shit.
If I had to guess, I would say that New Spring, the prequel book, happens 20 years beforehand. Although I will say, and that takes place in the Borderlands, it's not in Fal Dara itself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not exactly sure. They do know who Moraine is, so I would assume that maybe they've been there at some point in those 20 years.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's 20 years or less.
And especially if they're the front line of defense. I mean, I feel like the Aes Sedai should be moving in between there and White Tower pretty often.
I love Moraine putting him in his place, because it seemed like he had an ego and he was like all insecure, thinking this person's coming to tell me how to lead.
Mm-hmm.
And he was trying to, you know, pull his balls out and say, hey, I got this, don't worry.
Says, we have guarded Tarwin's Gap for 1,000 years.
Yeah, and Moraine's like, dude, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Just letting you know.
She does say that, basically.
You might as well guard the back as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, fuck, I didn't know that. That's a good point. I'm gonna go guard it right now. So it felt good that he kind of like apologized right after. He was like, I offended you. And I was like, yeah, you did. You kind of came off hard.
I like his design. I really am interested. Like, he just seems like a warrior, and I just really want to see him fight. I think that'll be, especially if he's right on the edge of the Blight, and you're saying that Trollocs and Fades most likely are just always in and out of there. I just feel like he would just be a total badass.
It's like a super general.
Yeah, just exactly. He'll put his body on the line.
Yeah, the Borderlanders, all of them are basically kind of warrior societies. The Shinaran, so Fal Dara is in the kingdom of Shinar. They have a very like honor-based warrior system, and they're just fucking bosses. I like them a lot.
And I guess while we're on this topic too, so is Lan's title Daishin mean that he would eventually take that guy's seat, or is that something else? Okay.
So Lan is from a completely different kingdom.
And we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, we can get into that a little later.
Okay, I just wasn't sure.
And to jump off your point about Agilmar and interested in him, and he must be like a nice big military guy. There is a concept, for lack of a better term. There's 5 generals on the continent that are famous. They're known as the 5 great captains. He is one of them.
Awesome. Give me it. Let me see him
so
fight.
epic.
Yeah, let me see him
Yeah.
fucking fight.
We will end up meeting the other 4 throughout the story.
We haven't met any yet.
No,
so
we have not
I
met
wasn't
any.
sure if like the Amerlin Sea could be a part of that, or
No, we haven't met any of them. We will get to them, but he is one of the 5 like most famous military generals
that.
on the continent.
Yes, he's a kind of a dick and came off really strong, but I think that love for his people and that logic that he was using, that like, okay, you're making a lot of sense. Like it just shows his experience, and I just think I'm already interested in him. Definitely.
Yeah, his vibe shift when she says like the Waygate is a threat right now was awesome.
I love that shift. Absolutely.
But speaking of that gives us the quick flash to something I didn't get to talk about in the instant reaction that I'm very excited to is Padan Fane makes an appearance. He did make a quick appearance in the Ways, but dude, just the way this might be my favorite thing that they did in the entire show is just how they treated him once the reveal to me. Once Kyle, you told me that he's kind of been in the background of a lot of episodes.
We did that prior to watching the episode 7 again. Luke and I were just kind of going through all the scenes of the earlier episodes and just pointing out, okay, there he is, there he is. And it's literally, when Kyle told me that on the instant reaction, I was like, that is the coolest fucking thing in the world. And that is like what makes great television, are those kinds of things that they just hint at throughout the episodes and you don't really catch right away. And especially how obvious it is he's on screen. Like he's literally the center of attention. These like random like cut shots of like towns and stuff, and you just never notice it. And then parents finally notices it in this episode, which is just,
he is one of my favorite characters, I would say, in the early parts of the books, just because of how, like, we're gonna get more on him. I won't even ruin anything about it. But dude, his, like, he's just casual. He's walking, he's whistling, he's got a little motif in the background. It's just fucking money, man.
His strut walking out of the ways, just like, this guy is, you can tell he's cold. He's just a calculated I don't know if he's gonna be a killer, but like, he's calculated definitely, and everything that he's done, he seems like he just knows is going to happen. Like he just has that foresight of like, okay, you know,
he's really confident too. He doesn't look worried. He's not sneaking. We
saw how charismatic he was in episode 1. So
when we watched it live for the first time, me and like Chase and Alki and stuff, we like watched the previously on, and it shows the scene where Matt walks up to Padan and talks. And Chase is like, oh, they just showed Padan. And I was like, yeah, that was just for Matt. Like, it was just showing Matt's face. Like, I don't know. I was trying to talk him away from it. Yeah.
That's funny. I'm going to say something that is not going to be a spoiler because the show explicitly shows it, but doesn't state it. But it's kind of hard to connect these dots because we're worried about the main characters, like the people from Evansfield, Moraine Land, that Padan kind of just casually walked through the Black Wind. He was behind them.
Yeah.
So he's just kind of hanging out inside the wind. I guess that gives you a little bit more insight into what's good with him.
I just don't think that would affect him. I just think based on this, like what we've seen, I just think that this guy is going to be low-key very strong. And I just think whatever the Black Wind is whispering him in that moment, it's like,
you're too cool. You're too cool.
Yeah, it's nothing he hasn't heard before, I'm guessing. It's just like,
you'll never be a great whistler.
You'll never be a great dark one.
Interesting. No comment. How about that?
He could. I mean,
yeah, my theory in the instant reaction was that he's the dark one.
Could be. Oh, you taking that?
Yeah, it was Paul actually made that theory, and I was trying to piss him off.
That is a Paul theory.
His head.
To move us out of the throne room, the last thing I will say, small critique, Loyal. We see him in this scene, and this is the end of him in this episode. A little unfortunate. The Borderlanders have a lot of respect for Ogier. When Moraine and Lan call him Builder in Tarvalon, they do the same thing in Fal Dara often. They always greet him with glory to the Builders. They could have thrown us one of those. I feel like come on, he could have given us one guy saying, like when they meet Lan in the hallway and they say Daishan, they could have looked at Loyal and been like, glory to the Builders, and gave him a bow.
True.
You know?
Yeah, it would have been nice getting Loyal some credit where it's credit is due.
Yeah, I feel like they've been kind of dicking Loyal over a little bit.
He got his time in the ways in the beginning, but yeah, he deserves a little.
Because this is the last we see of him, so I just want to just acknowledge his parting from the episode. So we move out of the throne room. We get to meet now Lady Amalisa, who is Lord Algamar's sister. So the two of them together kind of run Fal Dara, and we learn that she's actually been to the White Tower. She has a serpent ring. She is not an Aes Sedai, though. She kind of went almost as a formality. She wasn't strong enough to become an Aes Sedai, so they still taught her a little bit about how to use the power so she doesn't kill herself, and she still gets a ring. It doesn't have a color on it because she was never formally admitted to an Aja, but so she has connections. That's why, like when Luke said earlier, she tells Moraine, tells Lady Amalisa to tell the Red Aja about Matt.
As a contingency plan if they fail.
Yes.
So she doesn't have a ward then?
No, she doesn't have a warder. You learn the weave of using the one power to do that, to bond someone after you become a full Aes Sedai. Like they don't just teach kids.
So I know,
that.
And I know the Aes Sedai have gold rings as well. Like since she had one, like is there a gem that gets placed into that ring, and then that would make it official? But so this kind of shows that she was almost at that level.
Yeah. So just very.
I just think of that gold ring. And we'll get into it for Min's scene, but that's just what it was, either that gold ring or like an Aes Sedai gold ring. So I weren't sure if they were the same or not.
Just very quick rundown. When you first get admitted, you're a novice. You work your way up to accepted. Accepted, get those blank rings.
Okay.
And then when you become full Aes Sedai, you get your gem with the color in it.
Makes sense.
The only reason I asked about the warder was because if she does die, like who's going to bring the ring back to the flame? You know, the whole Stefan
yeah, that's a good point.
scene that we got before, you know, that was a big ritual and it was a duty for him. So I wonder if,
I mean, you could ask
I
the
feel
same
like-
question about the Red Sisters because they don't have warders.
I feel like the Red Sisters would be responsible for bringing back a fallen Red Sisters ring, and then in this scenario,
Yeah.
I feel like it would maybe be the brother. The brother would probably be the one to do it.
Moraine does say, I think it's in episode 2 or 3, when they're talking about how she can't heal herself. That's why they travel in pairs.
Mhm.
So maybe I guess it would fall to another Red Sister. It is a good point, though. I guess another point would be that maybe they don't give a fuck about accepted rings. Like, do they
It's also-
care?
yeah.
That's kind of insulting, but do they care?
Yeah, I guess you wouldn't like, you know, be worthy kind of to be in this
Yeah.
flame.
And I mentioned this on the instant reaction, but for people who didn't listen to that, this is directly related to episode 1 when Moraine and Nynaeve have that confrontation at the sacred pools. And Nynaeve basically says to Moraine, the White Tower turned away my mentor, the Old Wisdom, because she was a peasant from the White Tower. But in reality, what actually happened was that the woman wasn't strong enough to channel. So that's why they turned her away. But then that woman's bias was like, okay, they turned me away because I was a peasant. She passed that bias down to Nynaeve, and now Nynaeve has that in her.
Wow. That's why Nynaeve just hates Moraine. That's so annoying.
It's the combo of that, and because Moraine is like the face of dragging them out of the village into this adventure. It's not really Moraine's fault, but Nynaeve doesn't always think logically.
Yeah, she's got a tude.
Yeah, she definitely has a little bit of a tude.
In time.
Yes. Moving out of the, I guess, the throne room and the talk with these lords, we go to a bar. Everyone needs a fucking drink at this point after dealing with Machin Shin. Before we get there, though, we have 2 quick and very interesting interactions. Dave mentioned earlier, Perrin believes that he sees Padan Fane,
Mhm.
and Nynaeve shoots him down.
If she had only just like accepted that Padan Fane could have walked by, I don't know again, I don't know what Padan Fane is, and I don't know what his goal is in all this. I just assume he's evil. So if they had just accepted that Padan Fane walked by and they like go confront him and like, oh, what are you doing here? Like that, whatever happens going forward could have been potentially prevented by just addressing it there.
I think you're like, that's a very
I know,
that's
I know,
an
it's-
audience
No,
perspective.
yeah, it's just totally. I was just like,
because
it's
you
just
know
just
he's
go,
alive.
Yeah, just go get him real quick and we'll see.
I don't understand why Egwene was like so dead set on, no, you're completely wrong. There's absolutely
There's
no.
Nynaeve.
Nynaeve. Oh, okay, sorry. Nynaeve was just, you know, no, you obviously are just seeing things like, oh, what do you know? Like maybe he actually did something. You didn't see Padan Fane die, and that's like the big fucking.
That's the point too. Is she gets taken before the battle's over.
Yeah,
So she actually doesn't know what the conclusion was.
yeah. Like it's not. You're acting like Perrin's insane. This traveling peddler is in like a different city, and I don't know.
To defend that a little bit, which is crazy because I was on his side a second ago, but now I'm just kind of thinking like Nynaeve also has seen that Perrin and like especially how he's been acting, not only from how after killing his wife, but also how he's been acting after interacting with the Black Wind. I think she's just like, you're just hearing and seeing things that are just not
That's true.
Yeah, because honestly, that segues perfectly into the second interaction that I want to bring up is Egwene and Rand. And Egwene notices Rand's being quiet. She's trying to reassure him by saying everything that the wind said was a lie. It's not true. And on the second watch, you realize that that's actually a lie because the wind tells him that he's the Dragon
True.
Reborn.
Yeah,
And he is thinking that in his head at this moment. You obviously don't know this when you first watch and see the interaction. But on your rewatch, you know that he has those thoughts in his head. And he knows that she's wrong when she says that.
When you say it like that, I wonder why there were lies, but then we all of a sudden get this one truth from the Black Wind that it's like you are the Dragon.
well,
Reborn.
the
What
Black
was the
Wind.
lie?
It's not always lies. It's just
I guess
saying
they're like
things
yeah.
I mean,
that
so
could be
it was,
true.
that is his biggest insecurity at the time, essentially, is the combo of losing Egwene and him being the Dragon Reborn.
Mhm.
He does have doubt in him at this scene, but we know that it's actually the truth.
Yeah, and if one's true, why would the other not be? So, you know, Egwene really could like maybe not love him back as much as Rand loves Egwene, because you know if him being the DR is true, that might be true as well. Also, as soon as they got out of the ways, like you see Rand crying, and like a tears rolling down his cheek, and Egwene's like, "Hey, you okay?" And you're thinking like, "Okay, you know, it's just he's worried about Egwene," but that was actually him, like kind of coming to terms, like the beginning of him coming to terms and struggling with fuck. Like
He's getting close. I would agree with you though, Dave. I guess I did go a little far in saying it's a lie. Rand's not 100% thinking that he's the Dragon Reborn
Because
yet.
I'm just thinking of like what Moraine was told, like when it's telling him like you won't save these kids, but like there is a possibility that she does. So if she does, then that becomes a lie. So if it's telling, that's just what I was thinking.
No,
but
very fair.
there are grains of truth within everything that the Black Wind was telling them. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair, fair take on
A
it.
grain of truth. Witcher.
nice. Witcher
yeah.
episode
You should
1.
watch The
title.
Witcher and check out our coverage of it. We get into the bar now. So the squad gets these much needed drinks, and Moraine goes up to the bar itself, and we meet Min. Luke, do you want to talk a little bit about
dude,
Min?
Min's the best, dude. I love her so much. Like her character in the book is just so great, and they do a great job of showing what her power is. She is a seer. Shout out werewolves. She can just literally look at someone's face and images pop into her head. I was so curious at how they were going to visualize this. They did a great job of it. And one of my favorite lines that she says, and it might even be in the second conversation later, is that the clearer the images are, the more important that the people that she's looking at are to the pattern, aka like Tavir, basically. So I love that. And when she's talking to Moraine, she gets she's a lot older than she is in the books, and it's a little weird. Like they aged her up, and we meet her a little bit later than normal, but same things apply to her. Like there's no real major changes for her character. She gives these quick foretellings, I guess, for each of our 4 main characters sitting at the table. Because who's
Matt's
Matt's not there.
Matt's
Yeah.
not there. She just a very quick small thing. When she views Matt in the books, great. It's so fire what she says about him and what it
she
comes
sees
up
like
becoming.
it's so early in the books, and
Yeah.
she sees like Ruby Dagger.
She sees the dagger before he
Yeah.
grabs the dagger.
You see that in like chapter 4, and you're just like,
Yeah.
what the fuck does that mean?
It's
Wow,
cool.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I guess we can just establish that they're not visions or whatever. It's just their viewings. They call them viewings.
And it's a completely separate skill / power than the one power.
Okay, that was literally about to be my question.
Yeah.
Was are there can there be multiple seers, and if so, can some of them be guys as well?
I think she's just a unique entity in this world, and that's what she says to, like, Moraine assures her, I'm one of the only people that knows your real deal, like what's going on with you. I haven't told this people from the White Tower. If they knew what you were, you would either be dead or locked up and like studied and stuff like that.
She like blackmails her a little bit there. It's kind of fucked up.
Moraine's a little ruthless.
Yeah, she's kind of.
I mean, use that power is incredible. Use that shit. This is the time to use it.
I just feel like this is it's also cool too, because the only real magic we've ever seen is just associated with the one power, and so now we get a being that has magic but it isn't associated with the one power, so it's just cool getting that.
It's the 2 power.
Yeah, the secondary power.
Fuck, he solved it. How did you catch that?
Shit, yeah, I like that.
So what she sees going down the line, she first sees Perrin with yellow eyes and blood running down his chin. That one seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, straightforward.
Rand is seen rocking a baby. Put a pin in that for a second. And then
I didn't get to
there's
talk
You
about
want
that.
to put a pin in a baby?
I'm just gonna
That's
read. And then I guess by design they turn the camera away from the table.
Those fuckers.
Yeah, it's just, and then
What about the girls?
Yeah,
She says,
Min
"What about the
proceeds
girls?"
to say the back-to-back girl foretellings and says white flame and a ring of gold. So first back to Rand's thing. What the fuck do you think that is?
I didn't get to talk about it. Kyle did a good job of holding me off because I was about to get into it on the instant reaction. So I didn't get it. I didn't get to talk about it.
Hold me back.
So mine's a long shot. I just, like we said, these viewings can either be like metaphorical or like kind of very real, like with Perrin's with the eyes and fangs. To me, I think the child is going to be Rand's kid, but I think that when we see shows like this with a lot of like femininity and just female dominated societies, I always feel like pregnancies and childbirth are always like a huge thing for people, and that in those moments, you know, you can usually sometimes tap into some powers, like based off what I've seen in old shows. So I'm just thinking if the child itself is just like is also going to be destined for something, and that like I don't know. I just think that there's going to be some metaphorical thing here, but I think Rand will also become a father with Egwene.
So on the second rewatch, I realized that the baby has like dark black hair.
Okay.
And that kind of confused me because, you know, if you're an Ayuman, I assume that's like a dominant trait is the red hair. So if you have a kid, most likely it's going even with not another IEMan. If you have a kid with somebody
50% IEL.
well, yeah, it's is your hair gonna be red 100% of the time? Like, is it the dominant trait? So I don't know if that necessarily had to be Rand's kid. It might be like somebody's one of the other ones that just dies or something like that, and he has to like take care of it. I have no idea. Could just be a metaphor that Rand is daddy.
Yeah,
Rand is daddy.
What do you have to say about the Rand and baby scene?
I think we should all collectively watch and find out.
Okay.
I mean,
It's certainly a change.
I feel like I don't even know what that is.
The other
and so I
three
can
are
probably freely guess.
I was going to say, honestly, a lot of the viewings that happen in book 1 that you know about, you have no idea what they are yet because you're only beginning of book 4.
Yeah.
So a lot of them have still yet to come.
Yeah.
You can guess.
That vision meant nothing to me. So I'm going to put a just dart throw on the board because I think.
Look at him throwing darts at a baby now.
Pin him, dart him. I don't give a fuck. I actually like what Paul pointed out there that the kid didn't have red hair. So I'm leaning towards that could be Lan and Nynaeve's baby. That could be.
I mean, Egwene has black hair too, so it could have been.
That's not gonna be Egwene's baby. I don't think it's his baby. I just don't think it's Rand's. I think it could be Rand's, end game fostering a kid, and it could be of one of the 5. It could be Matt. Matt's not having a fucking kid.
Egwene and Perrin's kid because they get together.
That would be crazy.
I'm guessing Nynaeve and Lan's kid. I don't know. Maybe that's what happens.
I said this on the instant reaction too, and I try not to shoot down theories because I like the speculation, but no, Paul, that is not happening.
Come on, I thought you loved the Perrin actually has a thing for Egwene.
I guess I can't say without 100% certainty that the show won't make Perrin knock Egwene up.
Yeah,
I will stop watching if that happens. So you can put that on the board.
The other two,
you can fucking pin that to the board that I'll stop watching if Perrin fucking knocks Egwene up.
All right, let's go to the girls' visions and guess who is who.
White Flame for me, it's just Nynaeve. Episode 4, Logain compares her powers to like a flaming white sun. So boom, White Flame is Nynaeve. And then the ring is the gold ring is going to be for Egwene, who I always had thought would be like a Aes Sedai, definitely potential for Amyrlin's seat. I think in this generation of Aes Sedai, I think it's either between her and Nynaeve for the Amyrlin seat, but I think that's just associated with Egwene, with her becoming eventually an Aes Sedai member.
Okay, Paul.
This is totally me simplifying it, but I'm going to assume that she looked at them from left to right. Like she was, reading and listing them off. So I'm going to say Nynaeve was to the far left. I believe
she said White Flame first.
So yeah, I think Nynaeve is going to be the White Flame, and then
So you agree with him?
And we don't know necessarily what the White Flame is. Is that just like an immense usage of one power? Like I feel like we've been alluded to a White Flame before, and I don't know if it's like a person or if it's just like a title.
To be honest, I thought it was the flame of Tar Valon.
Yeah, that's what I'm just mixing it up with my head. I don't know if it's just coincidence or if that is like a synonym for like the White Tower or the Amyrlin seat or something.
It is also annoying because in The Witcher, there's like one of the characters I think in the show is called they call him the White Flame. So I'm also probably maybe getting that confused with The Witcher as well. So it's annoying that we have 2 fantasy shows right now that reference the White Flame.
Except not annoying at all because I'm in fantasy heaven. Right?
Yeah, true.
Last thing that happens too is Min does a small quick reading for Moraine on herself, and she says that the Amyrlin seat is going to be your downfall.
You said Min does a small, and you could have said Min does a mini reading.
Thanks,
man.
I don't think there's much to read into that. That just seems like a typical tropey kind of thing. Yeah,
Swan
like her
shot.
love, her Amyrlin seat's going to be the downfall.
Swan Shanse is going to get killed or kill Moraine. Something
Seems
like
to
that.
be her one soft spot is Swan.
I'm going to bite my tongue. If you read all the books, you'll know where I'm coming from.
Yeah,
That kind of rhymed a little bit, so that was cool. We move out of the bar. We move to the post game. We're all hanging out by the fire. And Moraine kind of comes in and gives everybody the lowdown on what's actually good. She now tells them that everyone's going to go to the eye of the world. One of them is the dragon. Everyone who's not is going to die. I'm a little shocked that they kind of put it out there like that. I like it. I like how Rand 2 So I guess to set the scene a little more, not to get ahead of myself, she says this. Nynaeve, of all people, obviously fights back a little bit. Moraine and Lan end up leaving. She gives them the pseudo choice of being able to not go, which clearly is not really a thing. As Rand then says in this conversation that anything an Aes Sedai says is not optional. Dave, you would like to say something?
Yes, I would like to address that. I didn't really like the idea of her presenting this option right now because it's like you already sent them through the ways and you're already a day's trek from the Dark One. You're going to tell them now that like...
Well, that's specifically because she thought Min was going to give him the answer.
Yeah. Okay.
I would actually push back on that a little bit. She thought Min was going to give them the answer after they took the detour to Fal Dara, because they were going to go right to the Eye of the World.
That's very true.
Fal Dara was a detour. And then once they went there, she was like, oh, let me go to Min to double check, I guess.
As an option to save 3 of them.
Like this,
yes.
like this speech should have been given at the before they went into the ways, and then this would have made Matt stand.
They weren't going to go, though, is the thing.
I mean, I don't know. Egwene seems
asked.
pretty always on board of like, I'm going to do this because this is greater than us. So like, I feel like no, even if she did present it then, like Egwene, no matter what, would have gone in, and then maybe Rand, because Egwene goes in, is like, I have to defend her, follows.
Well, my question is, what changed between them first going into the ways and now with Moraine's decision to tell them? Because
they didn't
Egwene literally asked before they went into the ways, well, what's going to happen to the rest of us? Like, the Dragon Reborn is going to face off. What's going to happen with the rest? Moraine says it's impossible to tell for sure or certain.
Yeah.
Basically dancing around the answer. So, like, what changed between then and when they accidentally go to
for who are you saying? Like, what do you mean by what? Like for
the group,
Moraine?
for the group.
What changed in Moraine's mind that she was like, I don't want to tell him now. And then later on, she's like, okay, I'm going to tell them that they might die.
I think it was because tensions were really high at that point in time. She just needed to, like, everyone was so confused on what was going on. And I think she's just like, okay, I can see tensions are building. Let me just lay it all out.
Machin Shin too.
I think that's a great point as well, Luke, that Machin Shin is kind of teasing her with the say that she's going to get them all killed. Part of me, this is obviously taking an assumption because it's never really shown. I think Moraine has an idea of who it is. She doesn't know for sure. And I think she's kind of putting this ultimatum out there because she thinks that whoever is like
Actually,
that someone
we'll
else
just
is
say-
having this internal conflict about it, which is Rand, is going to then say, fuck, okay, like it's me. Like they're going to talk about it and work it out.
I got you.
And then an answer's going to pop out. It did work out for her, technically.
Yeah, I like that. Basically put the burden on the DR's shoulders.
Just make it such a burden that like they'll just feel guilty if they don't go. So,
and it's perfect that it is Rand, because I would say Rand, and I guess all 4 of them would eventually have come to that conclusion that they wouldn't want to let the other ones die, but it works out perfectly in Moraine's favor.
And then the worst scene of the entire show.
I hate talking about it. I hate thinking about it, but
Let's
just
not go too deep into it.
to make a long, terrible story short, parents kind of into Egwene. Rand doesn't like it. They get mad about it.
Fuck that.
Yeah, honestly, moving on.
They drop some breadcrumbs. It's a little bit of an expansion of a storyline in the books. That's maybe a total of 3 sentences. I don't know why they did it. In my head, an Amazon exec was like, add tension. So they did so. It wasn't necessary in my eyes.
And
whatever.
It did give us the iconic Nynaeve braid tug, which she does all the time in the books. Whenever she's nervous or like thinking someone, she's always just like pulling on the braid. So people have been waiting for her to do that. She did it there at the end because she kind of caused that whole fight.
I have some statistics for you. So throughout the 15 books, there are 60 braid tugs. And Nynaeve is pretty much all of them.
That's awesome.
She does, pretty much all of them.
That's funny.
There's 60 braid tugs, and then we've seen Nynaeve a decent amount smooth her skirts. That's another little nervous tick of hers. That happens 123 times in the series.
Christ.
So I want to say this might be our first braid tug. We get the iconic braid toss in episode 3 when she kills the Trolloc and comes out of the pools. People like that. But this may be our first braid tug.
Nice.
Actually, only one happens in the Eye of the World. So then we really ramp it up as the series goes on.
She gets anxious.
She's tugging the fuck out of that braid.
She was tugging that braid and she was like, damn, I wish this was land right now.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of land, that's going to he's going to be the main point of view for our next like 3 or 4 scenes here.
Yeah. So before we can actually get into the Lan and Nynaeve shit, Lan and Moraine have a very quick moment while the squad is arguing. And the main point of this scene is basically that Moraine and Lan have dedicated their entire lives to this mission. Moraine's a little regretful that she kind of pulled Lan out of his previous life, while Lan says to her, I pretty much didn't have a life, so this is fine with me.
It's crazy. He's like, yeah, you gave me a reason to live and something to die for. But it's like he had a whole kingdom, and that wasn't enough to live for him.
Well, his kingdom's no more. It's literally taken over by the Blight.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the kingdom's gone. Like that's why he was smuggled out when he was 8 years old. Is that what they said?
He was a young child. He was a baby.
Okay, I misinterpreted
The
that.
fuck did I get 8 years old from?
You really made that up.
I made that up.
Yeah. He was legitimate newborn child, like swaddling clothes, crying.
He was 8
8
minutes
months?
old.
He might have been 8. Yeah, maybe 8 months I'll give you. But 8 years is probably a little too much.
Moraine also says in this scene as the parting shot, like, I do like the wisdom. So that's like a because of the bond, like she knows what's really going on internally with Lan and stuff, and she kind of reemphasizes Nynaeve's cool with me.
I wonder if
Nynaeve hates her, but
I wonder if Lan's heartbeat like just beats faster around Nynaeve and she can like feel it or something like that.
The bond is so cool. They don't get into it at that level, but I feel like it's fun to kind of guess about that
extrapolate
because
that level.
That's totally reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, you get emotional when I drink, you know. There's weird connections. So,
and I'd love this too. I think it's episode 5 at the ending funeral when Lan is the chief griever, essentially, and Nynaeve's kind of like looking at Moraine and Lan, and she knows that Lan is feeling what Moraine can feel. Moraine's feeling what Lan can feel. So she's like, they're both vibing off of each other, and she kind of looks around like, I'm a little out of place here. Moving from this platonic water bond relationship between Lan and Moraine, we dive a little more into this more romantic Lan relationship, which is him and Nynaeve. So we've learned in this episode that Lan has some family, or rather knows a lot of people in Fal Dara and the Borderlands. So he goes somewhere for dinner. Nynaeve tracks him again, but a little unsuccessfully, as she gets caught this time. He invites her inside. And I think that this scene is a nice little... Honestly, if you watch Game of Thrones, it kind of reminds me of like episode 2, Before the Long Night. We're all kind of hanging out, drinking, having dinner together. This is lighthearted, like really nice, emotional scene. And one thing I want to point out, Lan mentions that a little bit later, though, that this guy was one of his parents' armsmen that smuggled him out of the kingdom of Malkir. You will notice that Lan wears that kind of leather cord in his head, which is called a Hadori. This man is also wearing a Hadori.
Notice that as well.
Yeah, so that's how they identify. They are both Malkieri, while everyone else in the city is Shinaran.
Okay.
So that was a little bit of a kingdom distinction.
That makes sense. Then that clarifies for me the like what he was eventually going to be the ruler of. Like they just happened to be in this town that wasn't where they were actually from.
Yeah, the family that he went to, they also are essentially a people without a kingdom. So the other Borderland nations have kind of adopted Malkieri people. Yes.
Refugees.
Sure. Just one point I will make before we move on from this little nice scene is that I like how many like moments of levity they've given Lan. He's really funny in this scene when the old guy's like, oh, she's beautiful. And he's like, oh, I hadn't noticed.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. And he's like playing with the little girl. I just think it really makes Lan a great character.
My favorite. Ride or die Lan. Also, we're calling the shipping of Nynaeve and Lan Nylan.
Nylan. Okay. I'm okay with Nylan.
Or it's either that or Lanieve.
Well, we're about to talk about a big moment for Nylan. I'm going to ignore that other one. Nylan now find themselves, after they fill their bellies at dinner, we move back into the keep. They're going to bed, and they have this little interaction outside of Lan's door about how nice of a night it was. And then Lan just kind of says good night. So before I talk about this, what do you guys think about that?
Before he said that, the sexual tension was just, you could see it emitting from the TV screen, just that you knew they were going to bang. But the fact that he said no is just like, make the fucking move, Lan. Come on. You like her. She likes you. It's the easiest nut you'll get.
So if he didn't like her, this whole situation is just so stalkerish. When you say
100%. Yeah.
He just like wasn't into Nynaeve. She's just like stalking him outside the house. I was just thinking that like She's lucky that they're
Yeah.
And How I Met Your Mother, Doppler and Dahmer. It's cute and endearing if
you're into the
if
person.
Lan is into
Yeah,
it,
exactly.
but it's super stalkerish. If Lan wasn't into
exactly.
Nynaeve.
It's like the radio outside, the boombox outside the window. It's like creepy if you're not into it.
yeah.
It's like the two rules of Tinder, which is one, the first rule is be hot, and then the second rule is see rule number one.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I think Lan saying goodnight outside the door was like him trying to control himself. He already says, it's a mistake for her to be involved with me. I think he's like trying to do the right thing and kind of push Nynaeve away a little bit. But when Nynaeve walks in, he's like, fuck, might as well just give into it. Me and Emily actually had a bet. We were like, you think they're going to kiss this scene? And he walked inside and she was like, pay up. And I was like, not yet.
Not yet.
It was perfect.
So that question was a little bit of a setup because in the lore of the kingdom of Malkir, they're gentlemen, essentially. Men can't invite themselves into a woman's room or their bed to kind of have sex. Men don't initiate that. The women have to initiate sex.
What an advanced society.
Yeah, so they got consent on 100,000 trillion.
Yeah, what the hell?
So that I don't know if they were really hammering that point home, but I think that was an aspect of it.
Okay.
In that,
that's really cool.
That's a big part of New Spring when people like women come on to land and like people like will make jokes like you could totally bang her and shit, and he is like the honorable man in his head of like needs to be like a formal request almost.
I like that side of it.
I need consent.
I like it that more than him being reserved, to be honest.
But I think Paul nails the second half of it too, in that he is fighting his own urges of he knows that his lifestyle that he lives is not meant for being in love with someone. But I mean, when she came in the room and it was pretty much like
she came in the room.
Yeah, her basically inviting herself in and being like, we're going to bang.
Mm-hmm.
From his culture and custom, that's like green light. All right.
And also he's got to realize too that Nynaeve has been told that she's like the strongest channeler in like over 1,000 years. So at that point in time, it's like, sure, I could protect her for a little bit, but at some point in time, like this woman could absolutely destroy me.
Do you not hear yourself talk when you say that? Like at this point in time?
No.
And then at some point in time.
And also, I guess a fun little nugget that pops up in New Spring that relates to this, because they bang.
Yes.
Lan is a fucking animal in the bedroom.
Podrick.
That's canon.
Damn.
That's fact.
2 inches going 100 miles per hour, man.
He's got more than 2 inches. That's canon.
Confirmed.
As well.
Yeah, is that confirmed in the books?
I'll confirm it.
Did we pretty much cover Malkir though? Like, do we want to talk more about that? Like, just the kingdom that got overcome by the Blight, and that's why Lan doesn't. He's a prince to a kingdom that no longer exists.
He's a king.
Oh yeah, now he's a king.
Everyone's dead, so he's the king.
He is a king, which is even cool.
There's more history to that I think will let the show develop. There's more stories about what happens to that. So I think that's pretty much, we talked about it a lot. So I think we can move past it.
And they did smooth over the idea that Nynaeve was freaking out post nut after about Moraine and Lan's connection.
Yeah,
they smoothed that over. Like
that's when we get that connection, a description, and the background on Lan as well.
It was a great charismatic move by Lan, saying like, "I'm owned by her in the same way you're owned by the kids."
Yeah,
I like that quote a lot too, because it confirmed for me as a viewer, like I wasn't sure entirely what their relationship was, if they did love each other, because they've taken baths together before, but now it makes sense that it's all platonic.
Lance a suave motherfucker.
My favorite character, man. I love him.
This episode, we get it obviously in episode 5 with the whole emotional friendship stuff and the funeral. This episode more from like that familial Joker, like smooth lines. This happens in the books. They're in Fal Dara, and it's from Rand's perspective, and he's watching Lan interact with people, and he literally says he's like an onion. He has so many layers.
No way.
I swear to God. I was listening to the audiobooks recently doing my reread, and it popped up, and I was like, holy fuck.
That's so good.
That's the Shrek line. Like, that's BingetownTV Spartacus. Like, I was like, that is so fucking funny. So Lan's an onion. That's canon as well.
All right. I'll take us to this last conversation before we go through the final sprint, because this is just a quick makeup between Rand and Egwene. This just undermines the whole fucking thing. Like, what was the point of throwing in that love triangle just for it to be smoothed over like this? Because they basically bang right after this. But no more tension between Rand and Egwene. He admits to her and says, like, I'm sorry, whatever, we're good now. I'll go to the White Tower with you if we survive this, and I'll become your warder.
And this conversation here is really well done in the sense that now that we know that not in the story, we know that he's the Dragon Reborn yet, but once you know he is the Dragon Reborn, it makes this conversation more appealing and truthful. And
tragic.
Yeah, just because he's literally telling her, like, don't get, like, you should just go to the White Tower. Don't follow Moraine into the Blight, because he wants to do it himself because he knows he's the DR.
And I think the line, I don't want to lose you, on the second watch has kind of two meanings, in that you first watch it and it's like, okay, I don't want you to die. And I think the second watch
is him, when
you realize that he is pretty much 95% to the point of accepting he's the Dragon Reborn, of like, it's that he knows once he's the Dragon Reborn, when that's a thing, like him and Egwene, the relationship is going to change. You know, so him accepting that is also losing her in a way.
Game time. Cue the music.
Is this for the sex or the post sex? They bang.
Oh, I just meant the post sex, like
they bang.
Realization time.
So they have a little bit of sexy time, and the realization, little post nut clarity.
And this is where the baby is conceived in the vision that Min has. Yeah,
could be.
So incredible scene. I've talked about this scene at least 3 times off podcast with like friends, and every single time I talk about it, I even right now the chills are getting developed. Like, this scene is incredibly well done. This without a doubt carries the episode into the rating that I gave it in the instant reaction. It was a 9, but we'll go back and do that at the end to revisit that. But holy shit, man, this was just like piecing together everything that we've learned about Rand so far, and finally just getting the reveal that this man is the Dragon Reborn and this is our fucking protagonist. Let's fucking go.
I loved it. It's just him shooting arrows before when Egwene goes up to talk. He was missing. Didn't really know why, because you're like, you know, that's archery is your thing, man. Like, what's going on? And he's just got a lot on his mind. And then that's kind of him like solidifying his resolve by grabbing his quiver and going out again, and you know, shooting and hitting the bullseye. I almost said shit in the bullseye.
Shitting the bullseye. I mean, he is shitting on that bullseye.
He's so good. He's pulling the bowstring back with his butt cheeks.
And
letting it go.
I'm happy we got another. Like, there's a lot of flashbacks here that like basically retcon everything we've been seeing this first season, and they're all so good. We get another flashback to Dana, back to Maya, whatever the fuck we want to call her. We get this is the scene to me that stuck out most, because I knew too much going into the show, of course, but like I would have been so stuck on that scene when Rand does knock open the door with that Dana says would take the strength of 3 people to knock over. And when you see it through his vision this time, he obviously has the power on him, like helping him throw it open. But that's such a good giveaway, like speaking to him being the dragon so early, but it wasn't too obvious. Then we get the dragon mount flashback of Rand telling Matt that he thought the dragon mount, the mountain, looked familiar, because obviously that's where he was born, so he had that feeling. We see him using the power against the Trolloc in the ways, and then the last thing we see is Machin Shin retconning that conversation, saying, "You are the Dragon Reborn."
Yeah,
and then he just like
we also get him the flashback of him looking at the book too, which is really forced. Yeah, which was really important to his character. Which this scene is so good. This is probably my favorite scene of the series so far, without a doubt. Like, overall, the battle scenes, overall the Logain stuff that I've really enjoyed. This just is the cake easily. I'm so hyped.
I did not put together that Dragon Mount was where he saw that mountain before. I didn't know that was.
It took me like as he was like saying it and building it up, I was like, okay, that makes sense.
So if you go and rewatch the scene, so at this point in the episode, we actually get the finish of the opening, the cold open, where Tam holds her hand. They have the baby, and you see Tam take the baby, which is Rand, and start to walk away, and you see the White Tower in the distance. While when we get this scene where Rand and Matt walk onto the hill, it's from the complete opposite direction, where they're at the White Tower looking at Dragon Mount.
Okay.
So that's like, I guess, like a little bit of a subtle thing. But I will say that, Luke, the 2 points you just brought up very quickly. There's this person that's been posting on the Wheel of Time Reddit of a group of non-book readers has been watching the show and running, what is this, a Bayesian analysis of everything. So they take every piece of evidence and try to run it through like who they think is going to be the Dragon Reborn. And for Rand, which they ended up after episode 5, he was like the clear favorite after totaling all the evidence. And it was the door and the mountain comment were like the two biggest pieces of evidence of any evidence of everyone in the episode.
That's
so
awesome.
these group of people who were doing this nailed it, and that those two scenes stuck out to them so much, which was the point of them.
Yeah. And you did bring up a part that doesn't get revealed until Rand has this realization that he's the dragon, and then goes to talk to Min. That's when you kind of see the end of. That's when Roose Bolton comes back into it, because we could just flow right into that because it's more dragon reveals. So Rand does after Machin Shin says you are the Dragon Reborn, and he has like the facial shot of him being like fine, like I am. He wants the last bit of confirmation by going to my girl Min and asking her to give him a reading to his face, because Moraine already told him she sees the pattern, the future. And that's when we get like the actual birthing scene. I know Paul's sexiest scene of cutting the umbilical cord right here too.
Love that little slash. They just threw that in there.
The sound effects were good too.
And the splurt of blood.
You like that part?
Kind of.
I'm so happy that Roose just like it just so speaks so much to his character, because the other soldiers would have killed her just because she was Aiel, but he like completely put down his spear, had her, and
he like when she gave birth, I'm pretty sure he was like smiling, like happy for her, and then he looks over again to see her, and then she's dead. And then he's like, holy shit, fuck, like there could have been something there for him. But I like how too that Min's first vision she's ever had was of Tam, and
she saw Tam.
I just wonder if seeing him awoke the powers, or if they were like, so just because of how important that character was in that moment, like if that just awoke the abilities within her. But really cool. She was a kid, she said, when she saw him too, so she's had this power for years.
I love the idea of her seeing Tam holding Rand and that triggering this ability in her.
Imagine being a kid and seeing that and just being like,
it's beautiful.
That means nothing to me. Seeing snow and blood like emanating from this person who I'm assuming she was probably like 8 years old. And
8, huh?
I don't know why.
That's so funny.
Why?
Luke had said while you were actually out of the room that he was like, I guess Lamb might have been like 8 when he left Malkier. That's hilarious.
But she said kid, so that was like the first thing that came to my mind. But interesting. Really well done.
I do want to shout out one of the slideshow highlights that Rand goes through, which is him saving his dad from the Trolloc attack in episode 1. That's an iconic scene from the books. That scene actually happens in like chapter 5 or 6.
And you were saying that was like the dead giveaway of like him.
We've been kind of saying it throughout all of these episodes that it's not a mystery in the books because that scene happened so early. And he is saying these things like, Carrie, who is who is Rand's adopted mom, I know you always wanted a kid, all this stuff. They even throw in the quote rather from Tam saying, it was so hot, I didn't mean to find her there, I just needed to get to the snow. Tam talks about in the books how battles are just like, no one tells you how much heat there is when you're fighting in these battles. So I thought that was a nice callback for book readers. The whole reveal and all the slideshow shit was so fucking well done. I just love it. And Tam, you guys have said like he was the one that actually stopped to help her, and he looks like a fucking savage, first of all, in that scene with his armor. But
like the mountain with his helmet on.
That's a great point. The helmets kind of threw me off, and I mentioned earlier that they were from the kingdom of Ilion, and Tam is actually like his rank was the second captain of the companions. So basically, he was like second in command of like their elite force.
Nice.
So I just love putting respect on Tam Althor's name. I might have been jumping a gun a little bit with that reveal, but I just fucking ride with this guy so hard.
I just got a text 1 minute ago from Tori. Fucking Rand is the Dragon Reborn.
I love that.
That's
all caps. That's
perfect,
so good.
Perfect time too. Because I was talking to her about it last night too. And I was like, oh, she was like, me and her were talking a while. She was on episode 5 last night, so she binged the 2 episodes this morning.
She's loving it. Kyrie's 5 deep. He's loving it.
God, my heart is so full.
I know.
That's so amazing that everyone's been diving in and loving it.
But one more thing that Min tells Rand is I don't know if he says like, what else do you see or whatever, but she says, I see rainbows, carnivals, and 3 beautiful women. So the first 2 parts. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
For the first 2 parts, I have this slight spoiler of a plot line that is that's going to happen revolving around carnivals or something, or a circus or some shit. So maybe that's that, but I have no idea what the fuck that means. Rainbows could be like,
I'm split between it being an actual viewing
or a throwaway line,
or her like fucking with him, because
which
she's
Three
like,
Beautiful Women can't be.
well, the Three Beautiful Women is legit, but I think the Rainbows and Carnivals, part of me thinks that that's like her fucking with him, because he and then asks her like, do you see the eye of the world? And she goes, yeah. And he's like, do I make it? She doesn't answer. And he's like, okay, I didn't think so. So like that was her like being sarcastic.
So the carnival thing is not like circus related. Like that's not anything.
Small spoiler, there's a carnival plot line in the story at some point. I mean, there's 14 fucking books. There's going to be some wild random plot lines. It could be.
Okay, that's
there's
what
potential,
I was just asking.
But part of me also thinks that the Rainbow and Carnivals was like sarcasm, because it
was probably
directly opposite of what she might actually see, which is him getting fucked up at the Eye of the
World.
World.
It could, based off what you guys are saying, it could just be a nod to the books. Also, like if they don't cover it in the show, here's a nod to the books that the carnival is something.
Yeah, I was split between the two spots, but let's talk about Three Beautiful Women. Put it on the board. Who is that referring to?
This is like coming as a shock to me, because I don't know how I missed this quote, so I'm really like, I have no idea what that means to me. Like I think Three Beautiful Women, boom, Egwene's one, two other ones, I have no fucking idea.
Same with you.
You call Nynaeve not beautiful?
I just don't think she fits the profile of like what the context was implying there. Like,
what do you think it was implying? You think it was more of a sexual thing?
Yeah, like it might be like he has three quote unquote suitors, I guess, like potentially who he would end up with and have that baby. And so I would assume Egwene would be there. I don't think Nynaeve would be one, because that's a mother figure more so, and I don't think there would be love there. So I don't know who the other two would be. That's just my guess.
One might be.
What's wrong with you? We're right at the end here.
What? That was good. I have no idea. It's definitely not Matt's mother. She's not. I know
fair.
Maybe Chota's mom.
Oh my god.
No, I have no idea.
God, if anyone understands that reference, hit us up. You're getting some merch.
Yeah, we'll give you some money.
We are in for a wild ride on what the Three Beautiful Women mean. That's all I will say. It is one of the cornerstones of the entire series, and it is such an interesting plot line that it's going to be crazy to see how they do it.
And I don't know why this came in my head at this moment in time, but I'm also thinking of
I can't believe am I the only
now
one
I'm
that
now
hears
no
it
now I'm
every
being
time?
now I'm more
I edit
so.
all the episodes, so I hear it all the time.
I hear you say it all the fucking time.
I say so at the beginning of every time I begin a new point.
It's
it's okay.
It's my braid tug. All right,
yeah,
get
I do
over
the same thing. I sprinkle them throughout.
At this point in time, is my braid tug. All right, so I'm a little anxious. That's all. I'm thinking of Hercules and how the three women of like death, essentially, you know, the people who are cutting the strings of people's lives.
The three, they are seers.
They share an eyeball. Right?
Yeah, so
the
I don't.
String won't cut.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I don't know if maybe there's some like Greek mythology related thing going on here with three women being a symbol of death, or you know, something like that. But that's just what came into my mind. I have no idea.
Those women are definitely not beautiful to me.
Okay, that is also true. So
you're very beautiful to me.
All right, now that's pretty much wraps up the whole dragon reveal and Min scene, right?
Yeah. Honestly, the last little thing is that the squad, besides Moraine and Rand, kind of gathered together the next morning. They're kind of having a little conversation about what's good. The people from Ebbins Field, the kids, quote unquote, have now had their resolve that we're going. End of story. Land comes in, kind of ruins the party, and is like, Moraine mashed the bond. She's gone. And they're like, looking around, oh shit, process of elimination. Rand is no longer here. And then we get the scene where Rand knocks on Moraine's door, says, it's me. She hits the little, okay, let's go.
That was a good fucking delivery. I got chills for that one too.
It's ironic too that at the beginning of the episode, Rand was making it a big point to about the whole thing with Matt leaving them. He was saying that we left him, and now Rand is the one to leave the group. It's a little ironic.
But dude, already said it. The Blight looks fucking incredible. I'm so hyped to see what we're getting next episode, because to follow up that vision of just it covering everything you can see, outside of the Borderlands is insane. Like how there's got to be like monsters and shit in there that we're gonna fucking see, more Trollocs. Like there's gonna be, it's gonna be so good, man.
We're so spoiled because we got the episode 1 to 6 screeners. So we got done this episode, and I was like, all right, after the recording, let's watch 8. Like I'm so ready, and I was like, oh shit, we gotta wait. Like what is waiting for us? I hated that. I think episode 8 is gonna be unbelievable. I don't even know what to expect with the Dark One, the Blight, and
Eyes of Ember.
Yeah, we haven't seen the man with the eyes like Ember in a while.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, they haven't had any dreams or visions, at least that they're showing.
Which is kind of makes sense because they said they only started happening again when they weren't with Moraine, and Moraine said, "If you're around me, I'll protect you." Is that a book thing or is that a show thing? She says like she blocked. Didn't she say like
no?
If you sleep near me, I'll fucking block the. Because in the scene when they first when the bats had come out of like Rand's mouth,
yeah,
doesn't she say if you're near me, I'll block the?
I thought she said, just let me know when that happens.
I might have just been pulling some book stuff there.
Yeah, I mean they do have dreams when they're kind of sleeping in the same inn as her in the books. So I don't know.
But isn't that before she knew?
Yeah, I get they do not tell her.
Yeah,
about the dreams, kind of they try to hide it from her, but I don't know.
Because there's like a loose system that's kind of like the Magicians, where there's like wards you can put out. So I think they sometimes do that in the books.
You can protect your dreams a little bit. We're not really there yet.
Okay,
that's kind of more of like an advanced level of channeling.
Okay,
that obviously these people just learned this season that they can use the power. So I'm just curious I just want to get like a quick thoughts on Rand and Moraine together traveling alone through the Blight, because I feel like Rand and Moraine have kind of butted heads a decent amount throughout this season. Episode 2, when he kind of blows up at her, there was talk episode 2 that was the first moment where she started thinking in her head, like if she was on the podcast with us and after every episode we asked her like, who do you think the Dragon Reborn is, she would have kept saying Rand from that point, because like the way that he blows up at her. But I'm just curious if episode 8 is obviously going to start off, or at least at the beginning of the episode, it's going to just be the two of them. I'm just curious what you guys think of that pairing happening in episode 8.
Very little to no small talk.
Yeah.
Like, they just do not seem like the chatty type together.
I think that I'm sorry to interrupt you, but there was some meat left on the bone from Loyal's knowledge that he could have talked about in the ways that I'm kind of hoping that Moraine and Rand's conversation will bring out. I feel like he does kind of see her as someone who knows things. And I think he might be asking her questions. Because like you're saying, there's no small talk. Like we're kind of heading to almost a suicide mission. So maybe he's going to ask her for a little more information.
Yeah, I could see him asking like, so what's this guy look like? just like little things like that. Like,
yeah.
How far is it? I'm interested to see, like Luke said, what's going to be in the Blight. If it's just going to be like an easy path that you can just kind of walk through, or is it just going to be like monsters and shit?
Yeah. We're going to fucking find out in 5.5 days.
Yeah, we are on our way to the eye of the world. I can't fucking wait to see the way they visualize it. Yeah. The ending of the first book is so fucking crazy that I know that they had some headaches and long nights thinking about how to put it onto the screen. Yeah. And I can't fucking wait to watch it with the world.
Let's do some ratings and then bang Hail Mary and get the fuck out of here.
I'll go first. So I gave it a 9 on the instant reaction. Unfortunately, I'm going to drop it 0.5 point. I think
what happened?
I think it was just the recency bias. You're right. Like, and we were talking too about not much besides Rand getting revealed as the Dragon Reborn pushes this plot like to like that much farther. We get that ridiculous love triangle stuff, which I didn't overly enjoy. And just looking back on my second rewatch, I would give it a 0.5 point drop, but I still think that scene alone made the episode of the reveal, just made the episode my second favorite overall.
If we take out the love triangle, what's the rating?
I would probably be safe giving it a 9. I think.
It would be a 9.
I think that half comes from like the love triangle and just yeah.
Okay.
So.
I'll go next. 9.5 out of 10. I think it was the best episode of the season. Just take out the love triangle. It was perfect. Padan Fane was a savage. The Aiel fight, like with the mother giving birth, that was stuck out so much for me. And then of course, like the dragon reveal was chills both times, both when you get the visions of Rand realizing And then when he says to Moraine, "It's me," like all of that was amazing. Plus the Blight, plus fucking Fal Dara, everything. This was the best episode ever.
Yeah, I'm gonna increase my rating from from the instant reaction episode. I'm gonna go up to a 9. I'm over the love triangle now. It's in the background. I don't fucking care, I guess, anymore because we're never gonna talk about it again. Lord Agomar, like I said, is kind of a boss in the books, and they made him out to be kind of a dick. So I don't love that, but it's definitely a 9. The Dragon Reborn reveal, I was legitimately tearing up when I first watched it. The second time hit me just as hard. The fucking ways, all of the the Machin Shin was great. Fal Dara was great.
Oh my god, how
Land's background was Land's
No
background was
way.
great. It was fire.
I did say it was like on the instant reaction. I said it was tied for my favorite episode with 4, but like it's easily these two on top of the world. For
I
me.
think if I had to pick, since I gave both 4 and this a 9, would be a 9.1, while 4 is a 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it a 9. Everything you guys said, Padan Fane reveal was just great. Dragon Reborn reveal obviously is first thing you think about now when looking back at this episode. I loved the ways. There was just a lot of cool concepts in here. There were some sexy times. Everybody was getting laid besides Perrin because his life sucks.
No, he hooked up with Jill.
Oh yeah, true.
Oh shit! I was like, Jill, who the fuck's Jill?
Oh
Yeah.
shit, yeah.
His hand. So you left.
If you get that reference, shout us out. We'll give you some merch.
Are you fucking Perrin jerking off? And we'll give you free t-shirts.
Do you like jerking off? Here's a t-shirt.
But yeah, I mean, 9. This is phenomenal. I'm hoping 10 just blows it out of the water, though. I'm so ready for this finale.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of everyone having sex, before we get to the BKM, there was a really funny tweet that I'm sorry if this was your tweet. I do not remember what your Twitter name is, but it was hilarious. They were watching with a non-reader, and they were joking that they expected when Rand goes to knock on Moraine's door that Loyal would be laying in the bed because like everyone else was getting laid this episode. And just the image of Loyal fucking Moraine is so funny to me.
God, dude.
Okay, moving into BKM.
Yeah, we're going to do a little BKM real quick. We are going to do pairs. We are going to do Egwene and Rand. We're going to do Nynaeve and Lan. And then the third pairing is Moraine and Swan Sanche. So you gotta marry, kill, or bang both of them.
This is so tough. I want to be honest, and I'll start. Unfortunately, I have to kill. This pains me with every fiber in my being to kill Lan and Nynaeve.
What? Damn.
What is the reasoning?
The other two pairings are just, to me, so much more important, I think. Like, obviously, Rand is the Dragon Reborn, so got to keep him alive. So we'll just get into the rest of it. So I'm going to bang the threesome of Moraine and Swan, and then marry into Egwene and Rand, because like I said, Rand is the Dragon Reborn, can't kill him, so that pair is done. I think Moraine and Swan at this point in time are stronger than Lan and Nynaeve as a combo. So that strength is going to carry me far in the world. And so I have to unfortunately kill my favorite character.
I am going to bang Lan and Nynaeve because, as Kyle has told us, Lan will blow my mind.
You're gonna be scratching his back up. I guess, well, not with the way that men have sex, but
Maybe.
How flexible are your shoulders?
Not very. I'm going to tell the people right now, not very.
Touch my ankles.
Yeah. I don't even know how to respond to that. And then I am going to kill Moraine and Swan. And because I cannot kill my boy Rand, I say my boy just this episode, never said it before. Because now he's the DR, he's so much cooler. Yeah, I don't know. Moraine and Swan, I don't think I would give them what they want.
Want me to go or you want to go?
I will go next. I'm going to, unfortunately, kill Lan and Nynaeve.
It's so tragic.
It's so harsh. I know. Lan's a great character. Nynaeve has kind of, I remember saying in the first maybe 4 episodes that Nynaeve was kind of my favorite character at that point in the show. She has fallen off for me a little bit. Land's still the beast. It's just that, like Dave said, I cannot kill Rand, so Rand has to stay. Egwene's lucky that she's attached to
she's
Rand
totally
in
lucky.
this scenario. But I'm just gonna bang them because I don't really want to be married to the Dragon Reborn. It seems like a lot of responsibility. Like it kind of seems almost like if you were just married to like a guy and he became president, and now you're like the first lady, and you got to like do all this shit. Well, yeah, okay. What do you mean? I could be a lady. So I'm just gonna bang them because so I can just kind of walk around and be like, yo, I banged the Dragon Reborn, just to have that in my back pocket. And then me, Moraine, and Swan, absolute power couple, power throuple. 3 of us can I'll just chill in the back, and those 2 just like make huge power moves in the world. And yeah, they just seem like they have the most love for each other at this point in the story.
Some very sensual sex.
Yeah, so I'll sneak in on that. Like, hey guys,
really
some love.
For Luke goes, because I married Rand, that viewing we saw, that's me and Rand's baby because he got the black hair. He's got the black hair. That's me, our kid.
So walk me through that.
I impregnate the Dragon Reborn through the channeling of the one power.
Okay.
I go mad eventually.
I don't know if that's not possible. So we're gonna let you have that one.
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, I have the same answer as Kyle for slightly different reasons. I'm definitely gonna kill Lan and Nynaeve. That was the first decision I made.
Yeah, that was unfortunately it was the easy one.
I'm banging Rand and Egwene because they're the hottest, in my opinion, like collectively. I think Rand's fucking beautiful. Egwene can get it over the other, whatever. They're the hottest. They're the youngest. That'll be fun.
There's something about Egwene's nose.
And then I'm definitely gonna marry Swan and Moraine because 1, they're never gonna be able to lie to me ever.
Great point.
And yeah, I kind of want the power.
They can mislead you.
They can mislead me, but so could everyone else.
That's so true. Yeah, they can
Lan would never
lie.
Lan would never.
No,
mislead.
but I can't lie. I want the power. I want to be behind them.
They could just. I will totally be their warder.
Yeah, exactly.
The sex you would have with one power included would probably be pretty.
You just crank it up to like what? I guess 3 at that point.
A little weave
Plus,
in the butt.
Let's settle down over there. The BKM always goes off the rails. Whenever there's men involved in the BKM with us, it always goes off the rails a little bit.
Put that on a t-shirt. A little weave in the butt. A little weave in the butt.
I appreciate how free we are with our sexualities when we're together like this.
Love
it's like Lan and Steppen when they were in episode 5.
I hope
chatting about it.
I hope the people can genuinely enjoy this segment and not be like, these 4 are just fucking out of their minds.
Just know I will never kill Moraine if she's in a bank. I'll marry. I don't care who it's up against.
I killed her so easily.
What an episode.
All right. Episode 7, The Dark Along the Ways. In the books, we finally have our DR. So we've lost our DR guessing segment. Honestly, I'm a little upset about that because it was fun to see how wrong they were every week.
Never guessed Rand one time.
Yeah, that was kind of a blast. So we'll have to maybe think of something else to get the laughs off for me and Luke at this point. But we really appreciate you guys listening all the way up until this point. If you did both the instant reaction and the deep dive, fuck yeah, you are a legend. You're an OG Bingetown homie. If this is your first time listening, or maybe your second or third, and you're a little apprehensive, check us out on Instagram and Twitter, BingetownTV. Subscribe to us, please, on whatever the hell you listen to podcasts on. If you're on YouTube, totally subscribe to us as well. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/BingetownTV. We cover a metric fuck ton of shows at this point. This is flirting with our 200th episode. So just stick with us. We'll find a show you like. If you're liking us so far, we're going to keep going. Adios.
On your knees.
Carwin's Gap.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.